Well, good morning, everybody. I hope everything is okay technically, if everybody can hear me. Well, welcome everybody to the third webinar that I'm going to give today in the series of the End Partner webinar. Well, I welcome everybody and I thank you all for your participation in this webinar. Just in general, I'd like to introduce myself. I am James Roos. I am a product manager in EnGenius Networks Europe in the European office, which is the sales office for EnGenius worldwide. And we are responsible for the European market. I am working in IT already for 13 years, and already almost 4 years I work for EnGenius. And my function in this company, in this office, is that I'm the bridge for from headquarters to the European customers. So therefore, it's my responsibility to give you guys the information about our products. And today, we are going to continue our EnGenius End Partner training series with our EnGenius EWS training. It's the second training of a row of four of the EWS. The first training was a general introduction on the EWS. This training is going to be a hands-on. The third one is a little bit more detailed to some features of the EWS. The fourth training of the EWS trainings is going to be dedicated to the Easy Master, which is going to be launched in a few weeks from now. So today I want to start with our hands-on training. To be honest, I have the training is not 100% live. Actually, it's not live. I use a screenshot from a live setup through our EWS system because then I can already pre-point out things that are important and skip things that are redundant to configure, so we can go more smoothly through this presentation. Okay, let's go through the agenda for today. So this is the agenda for today. So like I said, this presentation is going to be a hands-on introduction of our EWS Neutral Solution. And first of all, we go through a basic setup, and I will highlight a few basic features. And at the end, we'll go through a few monitoring and maintenance features. Okay, so let's start actually where we left in the previous presentation. And I'm going to repeat this slide. Like I said, this is from the previous presentation, and we would like to highlight again that it's very important to plan ahead and calculate the power budget for wireless solution. Well, this is actually the first step that you have to do in applying in deployment, because one of the features of the EWS is providing the PoE power into the access points. So in this table, you can see it will help you to calculate how many switches do you need to power up your access points and to connect your access points. So so you can see here, the most important is the switches are restricted to manage a certain amount of access points. And yeah, here you see the numbers indicated. We have a power budget. We have different access points with different power requirements. So the more power an access point needs, of course, it can the switch is restricted to a certain power budget. So in short, the first thing you have to determine is how many APs do you want to manage, and also take in consideration that you might want to expand in the future, so maybe in more rooms or outside. And secondly, based on the power consumption of the access points, you need to have a certain power budget. The features of the EWS switches are the same. So the only difference is the quantity of the manageable APs, and second and third is the quantity of ports. But actually more important is the PoE power budget. Well, based on your requirement, you need to carefully calculate the power budget in the network. You can also play with the locations of various switches, dividing them in your network. So, next slide. Next slide actually is introduction of the EWS in real. The EWS Neutral Solution consists out of management, PoE, L2 switches, and access points, and the access points have to be wired to the switches, direct or through a sub-switch, EGS switches. The 19-inch switches, they all come with brackets to rack mount them, and the outdoor APs have brackets or screw holes to mount them on a pole or a wall, and the indoor APs have holes to mount them on the wall or on the ceiling, and with or without ceiling mount brackets, and also some T-rail clips are provided to easily mount them on system ceilings. Let me see if I can show you what's inside the box. 1 sec. Go a little bit here. So like I said, I have here a switch, and the switches, they all come with 19-inch brackets to mount them in a 19-inch rack. Depending on the size, this is EWS 5912FP. So the brackets are a little bit wider to fit into the 19-inch rack. The 19-inch switches from the 7 series and up, they come with smaller brackets to still fit in the same 19-inch distance. The switch also comes with a COM cable and of course power cable, depending on your region, what you need. So this is for the switch part. I have here a box with for the access point, for one indoor access point actually. Of course it has the access point inside. There is actually a warning sticker here about the firmware notice that you definitely first have to upgrade the switch into a certain level so it will recognize the access points. I will also come back to it about this in the presentation. The back side of the access point, the bottom side. Like I said, it has screw holes to fit either just a normal screw, or you can put, like I said, there are T-rail clips. This is a small size, and this is a big size T-rail clip that can fit in here. So you can screw it here with all the screws provided. Of course, there's a network cable, all back with clips and some screws to mount them, and then also the screws to mount these clips are inside, even erasers are inside. Another thing is the ceiling mount clamp, and last but not least, there is a power supply also provided. Even though the access points can be powered with PoE, and actually you have to connect them anyways to a switch for the management function, there is still a power supply provided. Because, for instance, if you want to use this switch, if I go back to a few slides earlier, let me see if I can do that. For instance, if you want to use the 5912FP switch and you have the 360, you can only power up 6 access points. So you have not enough power to use this PoE provisioning, the supply of the PoE power for 8. So in case you want to connect 8, then you need to have an extra power. So you still don't need to buy an extra switch because you still have the power supply in your box. Okay, so far for this. So just explanation how the T-rail clips will work. just in case if you don't understand what a T-rail is, let me show you what a T-rail clip is. Actually, in our office, we use this system, how to say, ceiling, and those clips, those rails, the clips will fit on top of the yeah, on the rail. So this is the T-rail clip, and it comes with the two different sizes, and it has to be screwed directly on the access point. The other thing is the ceiling mount bracket. If you want to use the screws to mount the access point on the ceiling, then you can use the ceiling bracket, and you can use the screws that are provided to screw this in the wall, and then you can just click on the access point using the screws that are also provided. So far for the mounting. Okay, and then I will go and continue to access the device. So supposedly that we have mounted everything and installed all the cable work. Normally I would, if I would set up the EWS setup, I would first, before I mount them, I would first do a dry setup with the switch, and just connecting directly the access points to the switch. And well, we're going now through the setup, through the interface, to show you how the EWS easily can be set up. Well, the EWS controller module, which is inside the switch, is a web-based interface, and the default IP address for an EWS switch is 192.168.0.293. So this is how it comes out of the box, and just using a browser to go into this web interface, and we type in the address, and then we come to the next page. This is the login page. The default username is admin, and the password is password in small letters. So after we enter that, we can log in. And this is the first page that you will show, that you will see. And in the most top corner here, you find two links, and it refers to the different modules in the switch. So there is a controller, and there is a switch module. And the switch module is similar to a normal PoE switch, but in our EWS switches, there is, on top of that, there is also a controller module on top of it for the controlling of the access points. Well, before I go to the controller, I first want to go quickly through the switch part. So I go to the switch part. As you see, in the switch module, it has the same layout as all the other EGS switches. And I said that the default IP address was 192.168.0.293, but in this case, I already changed the IP address to a more common, for me, easy to use IP address. So it can fit on my network. In the example, I have already connected the EWS switch behind the router, so I already have internet connection because I will need it later. And I also use the DHCP server of the router for more easy setup. So in this case, I already changed the IP address here in advance, but I can show you here that here actually you can just easily change the settings in here. So you can choose to put a static fixed in, or use DHCP. In this case, I make it static to be able to always access my switch. So in the switch module, I only want to point out this IP, but also one other thing is what I want to show you is the PoE settings and the bandwidth control. So let's go to the PoE settings here. Just showing you here that in this case, we can easily turn on and off the power, the PoE per port, and adjust some other settings regarding the PoE. And the other thing that I want to show you in the switch module is the bandwidth control. I will explain you later why. It's in here. So here you can set the bandwidth per port, and supposedly, since you connect the access point to this port, you also it is equal to setting the bandwidth to the access point. So that is already one step of managing the throughput and the bandwidth all over the network. So far for the switch part. Let's go back to the controller then. Okay. This page normally is the first page that will show after login. In this page, we already see that at this moment there is a update available, found by the automatic update check built in the EWS. So I think it's good to start with. Also good and important to point it out that this is very important to do first. The first series of switches, controller switches that are shipped out, they have older firmware, of course, depending on the stock status and the rotation of the stock. It's important to update to the latest firmware because there are batches of access points that if you have an older version of the switch, then some access points cannot be detected because the access point is newer than the switch. But so in this case, it's always good to update to the latest firmware. And in this case, the switch already detects because like I said, I have connected my my switch behind a router, which is connected to the internet, and it already can check the update status of the firmwares. And in this case, already detected one firmware that the switch can be updated. So let's go through it to see how it works. And actually it's just clicking and see, okay, there's one update available. Click on this, and I already see that there is an update list and there is a firmware available. And you just click on update. Okay, some warnings here, and it will start to update. You can even see the details of the progress in the update. You can hide it, and after a while the system will reboot to load, to restart and load the new firmware in. So after updating the switch, of course you need to log in again, and now you can see that the warning of the available update is gone, and you see that the controller version is also updated in this switch. So the first thing that you want to do if you want to start with the deployment is add the access points. And in my example here, I already physically connected the access points into onto the switch, and now we have to add them into the system. So we will go to the access points menu. I see that my arrow is a little bit moved, and this is the page that shows the status of the managed access point. And actually, I don't see any managed access point. I have no active access points, and I have no active managed access points that are online. I'm going to pause a little bit because I see that the connection is dropping a little bit. A sec, maybe I can solve this. Okay, I will just continue. I hope everything works. Yes, now everything is online again. Okay, what I do see, except except for this non-managed and non-active and offline access point, I do see that there are already access points detected. And if I click on this one, I see that there are some access points detected. And I want to add all these access points into my system. So let's, if I click on this button, then I can add them, select them, and add them. And then this window will pop up to ask me which IP address I want to assign to the access points. And I can assign it manually using a static, but I can also let my DHCP server assign the addresses to the access points. And well, like I said, in this example, I already connected the access points to the EWS behind a router with DHCP on, so I will just use my router to assign the IP addresses. So after I click this, it will start to connect all the access points, and it will start to provisioning it into the system. You can see that now the IP addresses are starting to be assigned. And they will come online gradually, one by one. So after they are online, you can see that there are all green dots here. Now they're all three are online. And you can see in my status of the managed access points that I have now 3 managed access points in my system. And they're all active. 0 of them are offline, they're all online. And there are no new APs detected. So in this case, I have 3 access points physically connected to the switch. And at this moment, they are online. And since this is just a start setup, they are in default settings, and all the access points currently are open. Actually, the first thing that we want to do is put some encryption on top of it, and I can do access point per access point. So if I just click on the access point, I can directly set up the settings inside one access point. But that is actually not what I want to do, because I want to make it more simple. And my EWS can do the clustering. So what I want to do is I'm going to put all 3 of these access points into one cluster and set the settings of all 3 in the same cluster at the same time. So I'm going to go to the cluster settings at this moment. Okay. And I see at this moment I don't have any clusters. So what I want to do is add a cluster to, so I have to make one, I have to put in a name. Okay, and then I see that I have 3 access points available to put in the cluster. Let's select them all. Let's add them. And then I can already start to set the basic settings for the whole cluster. So all 3 access points that are now in the cluster can already be set. Let's go to the radio settings here. I can set the radio settings here. Let's go to the, but I just want to keep it all by default as possible just for this example. I just want to change the country settings here, and then I will continue with the settings for the security. The security, of course, is a feature inside the SSID. So I have to set the settings for the security in the SSID. We have all the settings of the SSID here, but currently we just want to do the encryption first. In this case, I want to use WPA2 and put in a password and save it. And of course, I have to do it as well for the 5 gigahertz. Select this. Okay, save it. So the last step here in the radio settings, in the cluster settings, is the advanced settings. We just go through it quickly. go over it. But at the end, I just want to apply. Because in the next webinar, we will go more to the advanced features. This webinar, we only go to the quick setup. And actually, the last thing that we have to do, of course, we have to apply, and then the changes will be set from the EWS switch into the access point. It will be one by one, and at the end, all the change we have a message that all the changes are applied. So now, after configuring this cluster, we already configured 3 access points with basic encryption. So the website, the network is closed, and I can see that I have one cluster, which I call test cluster, and there are 3 access points inside. I can expand the view to see all the access points here. I actually can click on the access point here to directly configure one by one, of course. And here on this side, you can edit and delete the cluster. Okay, so the result, what we have at this moment, if I show you a picture of what happened, I set up 3 access points connected to EWS switch. The access point that I used are all with dual band. So I have actually 6 radios. 3 of them are 5 gigahertz and 3 of them are 2.4 gigahertz. With the Wi-Fi analyzer, I can see that I have actually one SSD for 5 gigahertz with 1, 2, 3 radios connected, and I have the same for the 2.4 gigahertz, but that's not all on the screen. So we actually spent now 10 minutes to slowly explain how you can just set up a basic setup of our EWS solution. So for today's webinar, we will only go one step further, and we will just go quickly over a few basic features. And yeah, I just want to continue here. Do I have the right slide now? Okay, what I said, I want to change a few features, and I want to change them all at the same time for all the access points at the same time. So what I have to do is work in my cluster. So I go back to my cluster page, and yeah, I can edit my cluster. I can configure the cluster by pressing the edit button here. Let me see. Okay. So there are general settings. Okay, we don't have to do that. Click them out, and I just want to show you a few things. And the first thing that I want to show you is band steering. Band steering is actually an advanced setting. So we have to go to the advanced settings here. There's also LED control here. You can turn on and turn off, or enable or disable the blinking of the LEDs. In some cases it's needed. It's really necessary. Very useful. But one thing that I want to point out today is band steering. Just a quick explanation what band steering is. Band steering, since we have 2 radios in the access point, we have 5 gigahertz and we have 2.4 gigahertz. And many clients nowadays already have both 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. Some clients only have 2.4. So that means that there is a bigger space than before. And to enable to divide all the clients into this bigger space, we probably want to push clients to go to the 5 gigahertz, because normally the first connection that is most of the customers or clients will already connect to 2.4. So if possible, we would like to push the clients to use the 5 gigahertz. So in this case, we want to use band steering, which is a construction that the access point will push, try to connect to when a client connects, the access point will verify if the client also be able to connect to the 5 gigahertz. And if that's possible, they will deny the connection to the 2.4. That force the client to connect with the 5 gigahertz radio. One thing that's important with band steering is that the SSID names should be the same. because the name and the password, of course, should be the same, so the client can switch with the same credentials to the 2.4 or 5 or not, or whatever the band steering is pushing it. So this node is also mentioned here in this function. And for this example, I already pre-configured this. I make the SSID names of the 2.4 GHz radio and the 5 GHz radio, the SSID. I made them already the same, so I can already enable this here. Next thing that I want to show is the RSSI threshold. RSSI threshold is actually a function we used to call it what is the previous name? Fast handover. Since fast handover is not really saying what the function is doing, we decided to change the name fast handover to RSSI threshold, because this is actually what this function is doing. The RSSI threshold is a function where the access point kicks the client out when the RSSI is lower than a set level. In this case, you can stimulate the client to find another AP in range with a better RSSI level. So we can set this function here in the cluster, but it would be actually better to do this only after a proper field survey and set this function per access point separately, and only when you have other access points in range to roam to. So there is also a small note here in this in the interface that you can enable this, but you better do a good survey first to fine-tune it. Otherwise, it possibly work more against you than it's improving the connection to the network. Okay, next feature is client limitation. Okay, client limitation is a radio setting. So I have to go to the radio settings here. Okay, click, and you can already see here in the field open for the client settings. The next thing that I want to show you is traffic shaping. Okay, double click. And traffic shaping is a function to manage the traffic up and down within an SSID. So let's go into that. It's a radio setting, SSID setting, so I have to go to the SSID. And into the SSID, you see that there's the traffic shaping in here. You have to enable it first, and then you can set up the limitation for the download and the upload. So just to give you a better overview about this traffic and client loading, I have a small table here that I want to show you. And so there are a few things that you can, manage and to shape the traffic and the data traffic and the clients, and to divide them over your network to increase your stability and your balance in your network. So what you can do per port, as we have shown in the first part of this presentation, you can do the bandwidth control. So I put here per port, because actually you have one access point connected to one port. So actually the bandwidth control in the switch function is also doing the bandwidth control per access point. Then you can do client limitation per radio. So on the 5 GHz and on the 2.4 GHz. And per SSID, you can also already do the traffic shaping and to set the download and upload per SSID. So in this case, you already have a few ways to really smear out the clients to your network. The more you unload or actually balance the clients into more access points, the more stable your network is going to be. Okay, next feature that I want to go is what I want to show is fast roaming. Well, since the latest series of update, we have built in a fast roaming feature, and I say this very careful. because this is a fast roaming that normally is not recognized or known as the fast roaming in general. This fast roaming is the fast roaming built on protocol K plus R, and this function does not work with a separate radius server. It works standalone. But of course, since it's not managed by a radius server, it's less powerful, but still it's very functional to improve your the roaming between the access points. I just want to go briefly over this because we will explain the features in the next presentation in more detail. The fast roaming function is an SSID function, so just showing you how it works. Just an SSID function. Go in here and you can just enable it. There is also already mentioned here that it only works with WPA2, so you can already see that it will not work with the WPA Enterprise like the normal radius, the 802.1x fast roaming protocol will work. They have to still work with the external radius server. But of course, if you would select to use the WPA Enterprise protocol, there is still a seamless integration of using a radius server. It's still possible, don't worry. Okay, so the third big topic that I want to point out today is quickly go over the monitoring functions of our EWS solution. Okay, and the first step is actually, you can see it in the menu here, we have visual monitoring, here we have statistic and general monitoring. First is visual monitoring, and we have the first thing that we have is topology view. Let's go in there, and if I click on that, I right away see a topology, a simulation of the components that I have in my network. For this example, I added a EGS switch, and I connect one access point to the EGS switch. So you can see it in this topology that I actually have one camera here detected by the EWS. And this is my main EWS switch with my IP address 100, like I said, and I set my EGS switch on 200 on a fixed IP address, and you see that it's already inside my system, and I already detect that I have my access points connected. I have two access points connected to the EWS switch, and one access point connected to the EGS switch. So, and the EGS switch is connected to the EWS switch, and you can even see the port numbers which are used. This one, for instance, is a port 3. I don't know if you can see it on your side, but I see in my presentation here that this one is connected on port 3, port 2, port 1, and this is port 5 of this switch, and this is 24 to port 1. You see here, okay, maybe we can zoom a little bit. You see that there is a yellow exclamation mark here, and that means that there are some changes since the last view. So every time that I click on this, the view will be refreshed, and if there are changes compared to the previous view, there will be an exclamation mark to indicate, oh, there's something changed there. So what I can do at this moment, if I save the topology, then that means that I reset all the exclamation marks here, and then it will be gone. Okay, so when I click on a switch or any component, there is a menu coming out. If I hover over, there's already some information that of the switch. In this case, there is a MAC address, and from here, if I look at the switch, I can already link directly, go inside the interface of the switch to do some other configuration in there. Okay, zoom out. If I go to the access point, yeah, you see there is a menu also to do some basic management here. So from here you will be directed to the pages where you want to do the device or cluster configuration if you press on one of these menu items. Okay, then we go to map view. Okay, map view. Well, the reason why I connected my internet before is that we want to use map view, and the maps are loaded from Google Maps, so internet connection is necessary. Location is found automatically based on IP address, so sometimes it'd be very possible that you get the location that is totally not your place, but you can still locate or move to your right place, and then you can save the map for future use. But what I want to show you today is directly to show what I can do with my map view. And what I can see here is the AP list. If I press on this, my access points that I have in my system will show up. And what I can do, I can drag and drop the access points into my map and then save it for future use. So I don't do it live, but it will look like this after I've done it. So I have now dragged my access points into the map. And actually the map view mostly is functional when you have multiple buildings on one site, and then you can visually plot out your access points on the site. For instance, if this would be also one of my buildings, then I can say, okay, I want to put my one access point here, and then I can see that what is the status of my access points. What I want to show you here, I now have 3 green access points actually with a 0 inside. Well, green means that the device is online, gray would be an offline, and yellow would be busy, maybe during some provisioning or uploading some configuration settings, and it will be yellow. The 0 is a representation of the quantity of clients that are connected to the access points. So in this case, now in this example, I have this 3 access points, but there are no clients connected. But later I will show you some slides that we have already some clients connected, and then you see that the number will be changed. So the next thing that I want to show is the floor view. Well, the floor view is you have to click here. The first thing what we have to do is upload a floor image. The floor view is named floor view because you can upload a picture for each floor. So in this example, I will add 2 pictures for 2 floors, and to show a graphical representation of my wireless deployment. So I have to press add, and then of course I have to choose a file and then apply, and it will be loaded. I have to do it 2 times, and at the end I will have 2 floor images loaded in my system. In this case I have a ground floor and I have a second floor, and to actually see them I have to press on the floor plan view, and then I have here a menu where I can select which floor that I want to view. So in the same way, I have to add the access points from out the list into the floor plan. So if I have this AP list here, I just have to drag them in. So I'm going to drag one here, and you can already see here that we have the heat map display, which is embedded in this view, and it's kind of a simulation how strong would be the network, the wireless, the wireless strength graphically presented on top of your map. First thing what you have to do is set the RSSI value in here. there's a slide bar, you can just slide, and then you have to calibrate if you want. But mostly you can just leave it on 0, and you can do the RSSI scaling here. And the second scaling that you have to do is the scaling of your map. Of course, it has to do, it depends on the distance of your network. So you have to press on the scaling tool here to make a line, and the line you have to enter how long is that line in your map. If you apply it, then you will see that it's a little bit different in this case. So I have now dragged in one access point into this floor, and at the end I have to save the plan, so it will be saved for future use. In this example, I already pre-configured my second floor, and in my second floor I put in 2 access points, and I set the scaling, or the range of the RSSI already. In a certain setting, I already did the scaling, and with this power settings, the default power settings that I use, I will I see already that I have a lot of how to say overlapping wireless signal, and this overlapping wireless signal is actually too much. And in this case, we can already make one conclusion here in this view of my floor view, that I probably want to decrease the power settings of my access points. I can do that, like we explained before, by doing it per access point individually, or I can also say I can also do it in the cluster setting. I now have 3 access points here in my deployment. I would also be able to make 2 clusters, one for downstairs and one for upstairs, and then I do put 2 access points in my upstairs cluster, and then do the settings for the cluster upstairs, and then I have 2 access points which I configure at the same time to make this setting here. So the next step is go to statistics. The first thing that I want to show is the traffic monitoring by access point. So I go to the statistics of the access points, and then I see that I have 3 access points doing some traffic already. And if I click on one access or hover over, then you see again some information displayed. And yeah, so this is actually the by time, and this is per access point. What is the traffic doing? Let's go to clients. Then I still, when I press on the clients, I still have the access points, the traffic here, but now I have the clients which are connected. I see the traffic or per client that are connected to. I have to select which access point that I want to show, want to see, and then I see the clients here. I can also click on this, and there is again some information already displayed. And if I would select another access point, then another access point will show the clients of that access point will be shown. Now I will go to the throughput monitoring, and in the throughput monitoring you have to select which access point that you want to see in here, and you can already see that there is the last 2 minutes that the throughput is going continuously. Well, actually, doing this screenshot, now I have some clients actually connected to the system. So I can now also see which clients are totally connected. And if I click on the device management to active clients, I see which clients are connected. And in here, I can select one or multiple clients, and I can already kick them or ban them. These are the buttons to kick or ban the clients. And there's already also one management function that is in the EWS solution. So The last topic for today's webinar is a small explanation about maintenance. And actually, in the first start, we already did an update because there was a warning of an update. So that's already one maintenance part. Let's see. Let's go into the menu here. And actually, the only thing that I want to show you on top of the firmware upgrade that we have talked about before is the bulk upgrade. And just go in the menu there. Actually, funny thing about the bulk upgrade is that the function actually works turnaround from how to say, from traditional upgrades. What you do with bulk upgrade is you actually upload one file, one EWS firmware file, and then after you do this, the EWS system will verify the versions and will show you which devices can be updated using that file. And at the end, I'm not showing it live now, but at the end there will be a list. For instance, if I upload one firmware for the EWS 360 and I have a 360 in my network, or maybe two, then there will be two EWS 360s mentioned here, which I can select manually and then to apply the upgrade of this access point. Let's see if we can go to the next slide. Okay. One sec. Why is that? Oh yeah. If I click on the one-click update here, and I go to the update list, I see now that all devices are updated, are up to date, because in the beginning of the presentation we already had one warning and we followed this warning. So at this moment we don't have anything updated by the one-click update. So the last thing that I want to point out here is that there are two systems to upgrade, how to upgrade the devices. The first system is to use the bulk upgrade. Actually, you can also upgrade one device, but you can, in this case, you can manually load one firmware to upgrade your device. And the second system is the one-click update feature that will go on the internet, check if there are updates available, and will check which devices, access points, or switches can be updated, and it will update from here. So the last thing what I like to mention is that like I said, the one-click update is checking on internet to see if there are updates available, but you can still manage, you can still adjust settings to find it on a separate different server to find the updates there. So this is actually the last thing that I wanted to talk about. I don't know, this slide, next slide. Yeah, oh yeah, this is the last slide. Here you can see you can change the settings for the auto update functions. So this is actually the last slide that I want to talk about today. So for today's presentation, I would like to end here, and I see that I just within this 1 hour slot that I am target to. So I would thank you all for your presence here in this webinar, and I will leave the webinar open for a few minutes. If you have any questions, to post your questions in the how to say, in the question field here, and then after the webinar I will take a look at the questions and answer you directly if you have any questions. So I thank you all. The next webinar is in 2 weeks, and then I will continue to talk about the EWS, and I will go through a little bit more detailed into more features of the EWS. So today we have just basic features, And in 2 weeks, we will spend 1 hour again to go through more features what our EWS solution can do. So I hope to see you again in another webinar. I hope maybe in 2 weeks. And for today, I would thank you for your attention and hope to see you soon. Thank you all.